how do I get the support of that person that I want to cheer me on and celebrate me, is to stop doing some things. Because so many people in our community are potentially doing that. I feel unsupported in my YouTube channel. The reason they're not supporting you is because you're also trying to write a book and start a blog, and it's actually 3 channels you want to start. And you told them last week that you were going to start something else, and the week before you that you were going to start something else. You got to just press record. So here's 7 questions to ask. How do you deal with unsupportive family members in your YouTube journey? How do you deal with maybe those that are not celebrating you? Question number 1, are they actually really unsupportive, or are you just interpreting it that way? What do you think about that?
Yeah, this question for me has been one of the biggest questions that I am constantly asking myself in this journey. And again, I mean, I see marriage as a blessing, right? I do believe that 2 become 1. And in that, there is friction. Iron sharpens iron. And when I think about, are they actually unsupportive, or am I interpreting that way? I 100% of the time interpret it that way. I go there every single time. You don't believe in me. You don't trust me. And it really is actually just my interpretation of how I'm feeling at the moment, where he just needs some facts.
He asked a question.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit more about that. Oh, you're opposing this if you're questioning it at all.
Yeah. Or hey, I thought you said you were going to be done at 2. No, it's a long shoot day. We're not done until 5. Okay, well, we had plans, and I'm like, oh, so great. So everything I'm doing actually doesn't matter. And he's like, no, we actually just had plans,
Yeah.
And then it sets us into this spiral where really it's just that I'm talking about my spouse, because it's really, where I feel the most tension, is that I'm interpreting that he's not supportive because I actually have not communicated all of the things that are happening in my brain, know? And for me, it's always going to the interpretation. And there are times when he is unsupportive, but that is also a good thing at sometimes too. I will go off the rails if I had freedom to just do and be and say and know all the things. And he's like, hey, remember that life plan we had? Like, let's stay on that course a little bit. So I interpret it that way. And over my journey as an entrepreneur, I've had to realize that not everyone sees the world the same way I do. And it may take people a little bit longer. I'm also a dreamer. My husband's very analytical. You and I, we're both dreamers. Our spouses are both more in that analytical, more realist phase. And so, I automatically go to that. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that similarly, I think we have to recognize that we're under pressure, and sometimes building a YouTube channel is stressful. You got a lot on your mind, and it might be pushing you to where you're almost on the verge of breaking, where you're just trying to hold it together emotionally because you want to focus, you want to show up. And then whether it's a spouse, a partner, a roommate, you live with your sister or somebody else. And again, they just say like, hey, if you're going to be shooting videos in the kitchen, will I be able to use it at 6 for my dinner party tonight? And you're like, why are you now opposing my YouTube dreams? But I think it's recognizing that, again, you may just be interpreting it that way. They do support you, but it's okay for them to question you. Okay, question number 2. Have you put yourself in their shoes? That's so good, right? Have you put yourself in their shoes in terms of how they might be feeling? Again, it's kind of crazy. You're like, so I want to be a YouTuber, what even is that?
What is that?
Yeah. What does that even mean? And we're talking about pioneering and pressing into essentially a new category, an undefined category. Have you put yourself in their shoes that maybe you've been reading YouTube secrets? You watched all of VRA. You've been listening to the Think Media podcast for 2 years. You've been studying all other YouTube entrepreneurship and you immerse yourself in it 8 hours a day. They have done none of that.
Right.
So they have kind of no context, and all of this brain transformation you've gone through, it's sounding fresh and new to them. So get into their shoes in terms of communicating.
Yeah, I even think about this with my parents. My parents have always, quote unquote, supported my decisions. But when I was like, hey, by the way, I'm going to drop out of college, I'm not going to become, and my dad served in the military for 26 years, very traditional in his viewpoints and wanting security for his children. So when I'm like, and yeah, by the way, I'm going to start this online business thing. He it wasn't that he just didn't even know what it was.
Yep.
He still really doesn't even know what we do. He's like, you make YouTube videos and then they pay you. How does this happen? And so over time, I have to realize that, especially when you think about maybe your parents or an older sibling or something like that, this is fresh and new still. The online economy, the YouTube, the creator economy is still so fresh and new. So you're right. We've immersed ourselves. You've probably been thinking about your YouTube channel. You've probably been reading the books. You've probably been doing these things for a while. You've probably been watching YouTube for longer than the people maybe in your life have because you're interested in it. So yeah, putting yourself in their shoes is such a big piece to say, oh, maybe I should slow down and actually say like, what am I trying to do? What is this thing? Maybe give some examples of some people who are successful so that they can go and start doing their research on it as well.
And that brings us to question number 3. Now, are you communicating your vision clearly? Have you educated them? So if you're in their shoes and you go, okay, wait a minute, I need to really slow down and explain this. And this also is a very powerful exercise because, again, the reason why they may be unsupportive is because there's just a total lack of clarity. And sometimes you might have a lack of clarity. If you're not sure of your business model, like, how are you going to make money? I don't even know. I'm just going to. Well, then you might want to get a little clearer than that. Like if you're unclear, I guarantee your family and friends and people around you, like it's going to seem even more ambiguous to them. So this is actually kind of a good exercise to say, number 1, have you taken the time to educate whoever this unsupportive person is into the details? And that could challenge you to maybe really galvanize your ideas. Okay, here's my plan. Here's how I'm going to execute it. Have you ever sat down and said, listen, would it be okay with you if I spend 5 hours a week or if I spend 10 hours a week? I'm going to be diligent with this time. Here's my vision. I want to chip away at building a YouTube channel. I understand we have other things going on. And this is a good opportunity to, how can you educate? Tell stories. What exactly are you doing? How do you even make money? Well, here's an example of someone I'm following. Here's what Think Media is doing. Here's what this specific person in my niche is doing. Here's the way they're making money. I've actually studied them out a little bit. It took them a couple years. That's my vision. So my vision is that's what I want to do as well. And I think that I really have it in me. And what do you think about that? Could you join me on this? It's going to be really hard for someone to support your vision if you haven't clarified and communicated your vision.
Yeah, and maybe this has happened with you. I know for me specifically, the things that I care about in my vision are not actually the things that Isaiah cares about in the vision. So for me, I'm like, I'm going to help people. I'm going to, do all these things. I'm going to be able to fill in the blank. And he's like, okay, but like, who's watching the kids on Tuesday? So being understanding, I mean, we could go back to so much that you even helped people on the podcast with, of just understanding how to communicate. What is the thing that really matters to them? Have you noticed this in your life with Sonia? Just the idea of
100%.
When you're saying, this is what I want Think Media to be.
I'm going to change the world.
Yeah.
She's like, well, the garage has been so dirty for so long, and that's my highest value. Like,
yes.
would you actually help me clean the garage? You're like, but I'm changing nations.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, yeah, you're right. Like understanding the other person, because that's the dream of also an effective YouTube business.
Yeah.
Like your motive, mission-driven impact. It's a legitimate motive. Yeah. What about our bills?
Right.
What about actually our family?
Yeah.
How are we going to feed our kids? You go, okay, inside of this vision, we're not just going to be able to make a significant difference in the lives of people. We can also make a significant living. And so, honey, on the other side of this, mom, dad, on the other side of this is the fastest growing small business type. Hey, here's a report from Signal Fire. Hey, here's a study of 1,400 content entrepreneurs. This is a real thing. And so this will be able to achieve the values you have. This can fulfill your love languages as well as mine.
Definitely. Now, the next one is, do you have reputation for follow through? Now,
ouch.
Stepping on a couple
This
toes.
is the one you said in your story.
This was me. And actually, I'll defend myself a little. Entrepreneurship is failing over and over. It is the idea of, can you pick yourself back up? What does that look like? And it's framing it for the other person, because it wasn't that I was untrustworthy. It was that I was interested in a lot of things.
Sure.
At the same time, that all costs money, right?
Okay.
So in that, was I following through on being a wedding planner? I mean, sure, I had done a couple weddings and I was making a little bit of side income, but I was investing all of it back into it. Was I good at, or was I following through on helping other small businesses do social media? Yes. And I was also interested in fitness. So I was all over the place. And so it felt like I wasn't following through. Now we look back, my husband and I talk about it, and he's like, oh, I see that you were just trying to figure out your thing. but I was not communicating that. I was just bouncing from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. And so my track record of following through was very low, right?
Sure.
And even up until the point, I mean, I remember vividly calling him after you and I had sat down at coffee, and I was like, but he already knew we were going to meet for coffee, right? We have boundaries in our marriage. And I said, this is going to be amazing. Everything's like, this is going to be so awesome. We're going to create this course. We're going to like change the freaking world. And he was like, okay, sure. You know, and not that he doubted me, but rather than just going full fledged into supporting me, he just kind of had a little guard up because, this is Heather with another Heather thing.
Sure.
I am a verbal processor. And even John on our team right now, you're going to be like, Heather, why are you talking about the Czar beef so much? I'm obsessed, okay? I was going to sell it. I was going to keep it. And John goes, do you just pivot in real time? And I go, yes, that's my personality. I am pivoting in real time.
Yeah.
That can show signs of non-follow through and not being trustworthy. So it's actually just communicating. Now I say, I am verbally processing this. I've not made a decision. I'm just verbally processing. So what about you?
Well, yeah. So we're turning the mirror back on ourselves. Again, we are demanding or asking or hoping, why are they not supporting me? What's your reputation?
Yeah.
And, that whole, I would say, hearing your story, you were following through. And at least there was those micro wins or big wins, but they were kind of scattered. And that sort of speaks to maybe the power of focus and not even that you had evidence of hustle. One of the things I learned growing up is I got to actually watch my stepdad and my mom, and I got to watch my mom go from network marketing company to network marketing company to network marketing company. And there was these magnets. These were all cool too. These like magnets that would like release tension and like massage things called Nikan and these whatever. And I remember it cost like a couple grand to get started with one company. And you kind of do it for a while. And then the question is there any sales? And even if there's not sales, are you like smashing the phones? Are you like hitting the pavement? Are you driving door to door? Like, are you hitting all your friends up? And that sometimes it was like you get into the dream of things, but you don't necessarily back it up with the hustle. So I watched that. And then sure enough, it was like, okay, this didn't work out. Oh, there's another one though I want to join. And I don't. So now I'm looking at both sides. I'm like, okay, if I put myself in my stepdad's shoes, not even necessarily just actual success and revenue, even just what are your actions?
Yeah.
What is are you actually hustling? Are you in there working? I see this happen in a lot of people we coach, a lot of peers, other men that I mentor. Again, they say they got big dreams for business, but then they're playing video games all the time and they don't have a gaming channel.
That's right.
So it's like, so then if you think your spouse is supposed to say like, you're not hustling though, like you're still literally life or death might be on this. You got your day job and you're trying to get your side hustle to monetize. What business do you have not really hustling? And it's not that you can't play some video games or something for a little time to unwind, but a lot of times people do that out of fear. They get the idea, but then they procrastinate away the work they need to do. I will say, not trying to just to soberly judge my past, one thing Sonia always knew about me was I just freaking hustled my face off.
True.
Like I went just all in, even if it was not necessarily seeming to be effective. So she never really doubted my work ethic. There was times though that I was definitely probably spending my time like you in the wrong place, spinning my wheels. And again, if I chipped away at one thing that was less meaningful, and then she got home and she's like, well, you said you were going to get all this done. And I made one thumbnail for 8 hours because I wasn't managing my time well. All of those details are, super important. And just, do you have a reputation for follow through?
Yeah.
Number 5, are you skilled at what you're doing?
Ooh, man. And this is something people need to soberly, I think all these questions you should be evaluating on a regular basis, but this one specifically, are you actually skilled in what you're doing? Their unsupportiveness feeling might be them actually not saying, you're actually not really good at that, And
like, hey, Sonia, I have decided I want to be in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like I'm changing, I'm going into the NBA, and she's like, I don't support that. Why don't you want to support, support me? That's an extreme example, but that's the ultimate example. Like self-awareness, there's a thin line between self-awareness, there's a thin line between ambition and leaning, stretching into gifting and delusion.
Truth.
And sometimes it's hard. Do we have what it takes? What do you think about that?
Yeah, and I think this is, when we're coaching and helping people in this, it's not that you can't start a YouTube channel when you're excited about something new, but my best advice is just pause before. If you're just jumping into, say like Kyle from our team just got a new Jeep. It's not like he doesn't know about Jeeps, but like maybe this is like his first experience with it, right? Maybe don't start a Jeep channel right away. Like, see if this is something you're really into. See if this is something you really want to be in community with. See if this is, because the self-awareness of saying, are you actually good at this? Like, are you good at teaching? Are you good? Are you really good at mechanics? Are you really good at finance? Whatever it is that you're jumping into. I see this happen a lot too when people start to change maybe their diet or their or in their finances, and they're like, oh, I want to start helping other people. And it's like, let's work the journey a little bit, make sure we've got some receipts to show that you can help. And that was a big thing of what you even did in your journey. You're like, I'm not going to just start helping people in VRA. I'm going to actually like coach people privately, make sure this program works, and then go deeper into it. And I think more people need to actually know that patience is a part of this process, and that someone's unsupportiveness isn't actually them attacking you. It's maybe just them subtly saying, maybe put a little bit more work in before we start going into it.
I think that's strong. And of course, this applies directly to, I think one of the things that speaks, maybe your skill is low, but can your hustle be high?
It's good.
Here's where I fail a lot is I've never really been able to commit to a workout plan. I've been able to commit to running. But one of the things that I do, I don't really buy infomercial stuff, but I'm on Amazon all the time. I buy exercise bands and I'm like, ooh, this looks cool. I buy these little exercise tools. So there's like constant packages coming to my door, little recovery things like massage guns and things like that. Well, I could imagine in Sonia's mind being like, why do you need that massage gun? You never actually push your muscles to the limit. You know what I mean? Like it's a logical, like play it out. Like, why do you need these recovery tools since you haven't actually even opened up the bands that you bought yet? Like, are you even really hustling and following through? And sometimes what we do is we make these declarations without much credibility or strong reputation. I think we should talk less, hustle almost in secret, and then make the declaration. That's a different way to approach it. We make a declaration. I am going to get Brad Pitt Fight Club ripped, so I'm paying for an expensive gym membership. How about actually commit to 30 hours a day of just push-ups and sit-ups for free?
30 hours a day?
30 minutes a day. And for 6 days a week, and you do that for a whole month, and that person goes, wow, you've really been hustling. Okay, yeah, that gym membership makes sense. We like jump the gun kind of, and then we think people are unsupportive. So you flip that back to YouTube channel or whatever, like, hey honey, I want to buy the most expensive camera. Well, you haven't even shot a video yet with your phone. So skill needs to be developed, but rather than making these bold, declarations, sometimes talk literally is cheap and actions speak louder than words. And so if you can put some actions in that you're not declaring anything, but people notice, then your family members see you, then that person sees you. They're like, wow, you've been really consistent.
That's good.
Building up your skills. Okay, I can get behind that. And now you want to make an investment. Well, let's stretch into, let's say, multiple thousands of dollars of investment. You have a track record of even a couple months of really doing the thing. That could go a long way.
So good. All right, number 6, are you being faithful with the other commitments in your life?
Are you being faithful with the other commitments in your life? Yeah, this is a good one because now we're saying, okay, so I want to start a YouTube channel. I want to build my online business. But man, I feel like they're not supporting us. Sometimes we get so self-righteous about that cause that it's to the neglect of just our day-to-day responsibilities.
Yeah.
So ask yourself, like, who's depending on you? Like, what are the goals and roles in your relationship? And have you been making even deposits and withdrawals? So again, if I hustle all day on my YouTube channel, and I know though that my spouse or my roommate's expectation is, oh, the house is cleaned up, or did you take the trash out, or did you take the mail, pay to the bills, or did you take care of the kids? If you neglect those things, then actually they see your YouTube business, your side hustle, as an enemy to the relationship. So why would they support that? Furthermore, if you're doing those things, then they would be much more likely to give you grace or leniency. And so it goes back to that parents thing. I feel like my parents aren't supporting me, where you're like, well, I got my homework done. I've done good grades. I'm getting to sleep. So now there's more freedom and trust. And when I think of deposits and withdrawals, this is huge. This is true in teams, marriages, any kind of relationships. Some things you do in a relationship are a deposit, like a deposit at the bank. So when you know what their love language is, or you know what they've asked you to do. Your roommate, hey, can you put the dishes actually in the dishwasher and not the sink? That's actually a deposit. They have a request, you did it. Awesome. Then you think about a withdrawal, though, is maybe like, hey, I really want to batch shoot this Saturday. Could you cover for me? Could you do this thing? Well, ultimately, then that might be a withdrawal. But your question is, what's your balance? And too many people are overdrawn. Their account is overdrawn in terms of, I feel unsupported because all you're doing is it's constantly a burden. The YouTube channel is constantly affecting the relationship negatively. And so are you being faithful with the commitments in your life?
Yeah, I take this back to even when I think about being an early entrepreneur and a young mother. I was pulling myself at two different ends. I was, young kiddos, and I was also trying to run a business. And so I think about, what is even the season of life that you're in? What are you committed to in this season of life? And so I actually started to turn, instead of building, I actually went internal, and I was like, what can I learn? What can I be doing, right? Rather than it being something that was external, that was going to cost us more money or have me away from the home more, or those types of things. I just figured, this is the season I'm in. This is only for a short season. We were in the season of my husband building his career, me with the young babies at home, trying to figure out entrepreneurship. And I thought, man, am I not actually doing the things I need to be doing to my already here commitments, right? And also thinking, I was also signed up for all of these other things. And I had to really soberly evaluate, what was I actually going to give my time to? And for me and my husband, we decided that family comes first, no matter what. Like, if the video doesn't get shot, it's okay. Family comes first. If my kid needs me, family comes first. Those are just commitments we've made. But I have to say no to a lot of other things, because we will overcommit ourselves like crazy, especially if you're like me, a recovering people pleaser. Someone says, hey, we need someone for this. My hand is the first to go up in the air. And I had to learn to hold that hand down for a little bit so I don't overcommit, so that my goals and dreams could actually come to fruition, because I actually could then start working on it. And my husband could see that the time and effort I was putting into the one thing was actually the thing to support, rather than saying, hey, can you support me on these 5 different things that I'm a part of? And that helped us in our marriage, and even with my family, to see what I was intentionally putting my time and effort into, and not feel like they were against me, but they were for me, because they knew what to cheer me on for. I wasn't in 5 things. I was in one thing, and that was what they could really lean in for me with.
I do think that sometimes we undervalue that outside perspective, and you're exactly right. One of the ways to maybe get the support, how do I get the support of that person that I want to cheer me on and celebrate me, is to stop doing some things. Because so many people in our community are potentially doing that. I feel unsupported in my YouTube channel. The reason they're not supporting you is because you're also trying to write a book and start a blog, and it's actually 3 channels you want to start. And you told them last week that you were going to start something else, and the week before you that you were going to start something else. They would love to get behind you, but they are soberly evaluating the situation and being like, well, here's another thing. There's no way you're going to succeed at this. And it's true. You're listening to this right now, and you're like, it actually is true. I've taken on too much. So I love that. Get focused. And they might be able to get behind the one big idea and the one thing you're building, which brings us to number 7 in terms of, man, what do I do with unsupportive people towards my dream, my business dream, is who is supporting your dream. I think we have to acknowledge that even if you are skilled at what you're doing, or you're at least putting in the hustle to build the skill, that you have a reputation for follow through, that you actually have articulated your vision, that you are really good with your priorities. This is pretty amazing too, but if you're doing all that, you're good with your priorities, you're super focused, you are understanding, you've put yourself in their shoes, they still might be unsupportive. Like, they still just might not be super pumped. They might kind of have a negative energy. They might kind of be a Debbie Downer. They might kind of rain on your parade. There could be a lot of emotional things going in there. They could be just jealous, or it could be an inner issue, or there's all kind of stuff. Then the question is, well, who is supporting your dream? It's still possible to build a dream in that environment. You can't change sometimes you can't change circumstances a lot of times, and you can't always change people most of the time, but you can always change your perspective, and you can always then shift your actions. Who is supporting your dream? And are you intentionally building a support circle? And have you been looking ultimately for support from the wrong person?
Yes.
Because of course you want to be like, if you say that the only way I'm going to feel fulfilled or even be able to succeed on YouTube is if I get support from this one person, then you've given away your personal power. But if you say, listen, I understand it, and this was a huge kind of a realization I had to come to, was I felt probably mostly indifference from those around me, or rather just misunderstanding. I just, like, it wasn't that they were unsupportive, it's that they didn't just get it. Like your parents are like, I just don't even know what you do. And me thinking, I wish you did. I wish you understood me. I wish I could talk to you about this. What I learned was like, no, I just need to have a circle and an outlet where I can connect with people on that level. And I think that's what we've built here at Think Media. Like you and I, we could geek out on marketing and funnels and socials and YouTube and algorithms at dinner. And when we're out on a double date with our spouses, like they're not wanting to talk about YouTube and algorithms. And so that's great. Like that's actually really a healthy, clear thing to understand. So who can you get around you? That's what we've done with the Video Ranking Academy community. People love the Facebook group because that might be their one place to really vibe with people that can talk YouTube, who do understand their dream, who do support their dream. And so no matter who's in, your cousins don't understand you, your parents don't understand you, they're not really feeling supportive, well, build a circle somewhere else. Healthily. Just get people in your life that can feel that dream, encourage you. Look for a mentor, a friend, someone who can speak life into you. And sometimes that's all that you need, and that can help you get to your goals.
Yeah, and I think for me, initially, I really wanted acceptance. I really wanted to be seen by the people that were in my life for the achievements that I was doing. I was putting my worth into what I was building, and I didn't really have much to show for it. When I started to shift my focus from actually wanting their acceptance to saying, actually, what community am I in that I already feel accepted in? I did this initially because I'm an introvert. It's not like I went out in Facebook groups and was like, hi guys, where are you at? I'm very much an introvert. I actually started to get that from private groups of courses that I was a part of, like Video Ranking Academy, but also by just becoming more confident in just what I was already doing, what I knew I was called to, where I knew I was going, where I didn't then need the accolades from other people. I didn't need their appreciation and acceptance and all those things because I knew what I was called to do. And so I started digging deeper into books about just understanding my own self-confidence, understanding that I was needing the acceptance of others because I had such low self-esteem in who I personally was, that once I started to build that muscle, and for me, once I found Christ and once I really knew what I was here to do, that's when it shifted for me, where I thought, my husband supports me for who I am and what I'm doing. I don't actually need him to every day say like, atta girl, or, oh my goodness, the book you're writing is amazing. He probably will read it. Or maybe he won't, and I won't. That'll be okay because I don't need that verbal acceptance from people anymore. But I think it's important that you say, who is in my circle? The Think Media team, you're right. I could build a funnel and you're like, great job, Heather. And I'm like, he gets me. He knows what I'm talking. Like, great job. I like that funnel. I like what you did. But I'm not craving it anymore. And I think building that self-confidence muscle, getting in a group of people who it rubs off. When you're around other confident people, you're like, oh, that's what it looks like. Oh, okay. So when you're in communities like Video Ranking Academy, you'll start to see that. You'll start to see that making one video becomes easy. You'll start to see that as you are doing this more and more, that the muscle is being built of just you actually supporting yourself on the thing that you're doing.
Super powerful. So use those 7 questions. I think the most powerful thing we could change today is maybe what we can do, how we can shift, how we can communicate our vision better, how we can maybe work on our reputation, how we can stop worrying about, oh man, I just wish they would support me, and maybe think maybe there's some stuff I need to do. It also could be on them, but these 7 questions are really a framework that we encourage you. I think this can change your relationships, build some more momentum, and help you reach your YouTube goals faster.
Did you hear that Grow with Video Live 2022 is back in person? This is your opportunity to network with like-minded people just like you, to make friendships, to make business partnerships. This is your opportunity to get in the room. You can get your ticket now at growwithvideolive.com. They're going so fast, so make sure you get your ticket right now at growwithvideolive.com.